video has now surfaced. There it is. There's the American flag. And that was actually, that was at the Hillary Clinton celebration, or I should say, her concession, that may show what some Hillary Clinton staffers really think about the American flag.
Do you have anything to add about the violence in San Jose, California last night?
Well, I look at my district and, folks see the brim of American flag, waving of the Mexican flag, and they're outraged by it. We have a country of American patriots, and they see those kind of thugs going after Trump supporters. But more so than that, you look at what the media does, Stuart. If this was Republicans or conservatives or Tea Party folks going after Hillary Clinton, I think the news coverage would be far different. But the mayor of San Antonio was going after Donald Trump as if he was the instigator of these riots is absolutely insane.
News from yesterday, we want to warn you that this video is disturbing, very disturbing. Breaking overnight, an angry mob attacked a Trump supporter outside a Trump rally in San Jose, California.
There were some arrests last night. Over 300 did get involved in the protests.
This video gives you an idea of what it was like for some of those folks as they tried to leave. This woman wearing a Trump shirt when she had eggs thrown at her face. Watch how grown men stood there screaming at her and cheering. Police eventually moved in to break up the demonstrators, and that's when several of the officers were attacked as well.
First of all, Hillary Clinton gave her first interview yesterday in a long, long time, first national interview. She gave it to CNN. You give interviews all the time. You're out there, you're talking extemporaneously. Why do you think Hillary Clinton is not talking?
Well, Anderson, she's got a lot to hide.
You know, our Constitution is being shredded. We know about the secret White House email accounts.
Secretary Clinton unilaterally decided to wipe her server clean and permanently delete all emails from her personal server.
I'm proud of the work we have done to elevate diplomacy and development.
Our allies don't trust us. Our enemies don't fear us.
The death of an American ambassador.
3 members of a U.S. security team on the ground in Benghazi.
What difference at this point does it make?
The Senate Intelligence Committee review found the attack was preventable. The report blamed the State Department for not increasing security in Benghazi.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, they wanted to reset relations with Russia and with Putin.
How'd that go?
How's that working out?
Not really working out well.
The Russian military now being directly involved in fighting Ukrainian government forces.
Many of the members of Congress of both parties who have gone to Syria have said they believe he's a reformer. I remember landing under sniper fire. There was no greeting ceremony, and we basically were told to run to our cars. Now that is what happened.
There was no sniper fire.
I misspoke. Yeah, I totally misspoke. But we came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt.
Looking at the book advance she had, was leaving the White House $8 million plus.
You know what? Rich people, God bless us.
Quinnipiac University found Hillary Clinton's lead is dwindling against Republican candidates.
A new poll out this morning shows former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton losing ground.
Is losing ground in key states, including Iowa.
Are you saying America should blindly trust her judgment?
There's one set of rules for the Clintons. You remember Whitewater? Do you remember Foulgate? You remember Travelgate? You remember Pardongate? You remember Benghazi?
Less than half say Mrs. Clinton is honest and trustworthy.
I think I'm probably the most transparent person in public life.
Australia managed to get away or take away millions of handguns. And in 1 year, they're all gone. Can we do that? And why, if we can't, why can't we?
In the Australian example, as I recall, that was a buyback program. The Australian government, as part of trying to clamp down on the availability of automatic weapons, offered a good price for buying hundreds of thousands of guns, and then they basically clamped down going forward in terms of having, more of a background check approach, more of a permitting approach. Certainly the Australian example is worth looking at.
Trace Gallagher with what they actually did in Australia. Trace?
Megyn, when Hillary Clinton made the comment that a gun buyback program is worth considering, she added that she's not sure exactly how it would be implemented here in the U.S., but said, quoting, the Australian government, as part of trying to clamp down on the availability of automatic weapons, offered a good price for buying hundreds of thousands of guns. That was in 1996, when more than 640,000 guns were bought back and destroyed. And it wasn't just for automatic weapons, it was for semi-automatic and pump-action shotguns and rifles. And it wasn't a voluntary program because the guns were all registered. If you failed to join in the buyback, you risked being thrown in jail for possessing an illegal weapon.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
I probably wouldn't, but I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings, and we're not.
You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life.
Officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
You talk about leveling with the American people. Have you always told the truth?
I've always tried to.
You know, is she in it for us or is she in it for herself?
What difference at this point does it make?
Bernie's wrecking crew be out in full force to tear the roof off when Clinton's camp steals California.
You know...
Oh, excuse me, I'm talking. Let him run.
Hillary's last stand.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far.
So you ask my opinion, I will tell you my opinion. I'm not going to be channeling my husband.
You were against same-sex marriage, now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies, now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times. You even called it the gold standard. Now, suddenly last week, you're against it. Will you say anything to get elected?
Well, actually, I have been very consistent over the course of my entire life. I have always fought for the same values and principles.
Do you think New York State should recognize gay marriage?
No.
No. Okay.
I believe that marriage is not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman.
I have not supported same-sex marriage. I have supported civil partnerships and contractual relationships.
I support marriage for lesbian and gay couples. I support it personally and as a matter of policy and law.
So you're saying your opinion on gay marriage changed, or you changed your mind?
You know, I have to say, I think you are being very persistent, but you are playing with my words and playing with what is such an
I'm just trying to clarify
issue.
So I can understand.
No, I don't think you are trying to clarify. I think you're trying to say that, you know, I used to be opposed and now I'm in favor and I did it for political reasons, and that's just flat wrong. So let me just state what I feel like you are implying and repudiate it. I have a strong record. I have a great commitment to this issue, and I am proud of what I've done and the progress we're making.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify what I was saying. No, I was saying that you maybe really believed this all along, but, you know, believed in gay marriage all along, but felt for political reasons America wasn't ready yet and you couldn't say it. That's what I was thinking.
No, that is not true.
It really is great how long you've supported gay marriage.
Yes. I could have supported it sooner.
Well, you did it pretty soon.
Yeah. Could have been sooner.
Fair point.
Just in July, New Hampshire, you told the crowd you, quote, take a backseat to no one when it comes to progressive values.
I take a backseat to no one when you look at my record and standing up and fighting for progressive values.
Last month in Ohio, you said you plead guilty to, quote, being kind of moderate and center. Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
No, I think that, like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and my experience.
You know, I get accused of being kind of moderate and center. I plead guilty.
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive. Going through the emails, there were over 60,000 in total sent and received. About half were work-related and went to the State Department, and about half were personal, that were not in any way related to my work.
When you speak to the public, you say, I turned over everything. That's, for the most part, a direct quote. When you talk to the public, you say, I turned over everything.
90 to 95% of my work-related emails were in the state system. If they wanted to see them, they would certainly have been able to do so.
You know what? That is maybe the 10th time you have cited that figure today.
It is.
And I have not heard anyone other than you ever cite that figure. Who told you that 90 to 95% of your emails were in the State Department system? Who told you that?
We learned that from the State Department in their analysis of the emails that were already on the system.
The Inspector General report found that less than 1% of State Department emails, record emails, were captured. So they give a number of less than 1%, and you give a number of 90%.
I have absolute confidence that everything that could be in any way connected to work is now in the possession of the State Department.
This pile represents the emails that you sent or received about Libya in 2011, from February through December of 2011. This pile represents the emails you sent or received from early 2012 until the day of the attack. There are 795 emails in this pile. We've counted them. There are 67 emails in this pile in 2012. And I'm troubled by what I see here. I can only conclude by your own records that there was a lack of interest in Libya in 2012.
The server contains personal communications from my husband and me.
Only time I got on the internet, I did 2 emails, and I ordered Christmas presents from a reservation. Otherwise, I found people said embarrassing things on emails. I didn't want to be one of them.
I mean, and how many angels dance on the head of a pin? I have really nothing to, I mean, how do you answer that?
I represented Wall Street as a senator from New York, and I went to Wall Street in December of 2007, before the big crash that we had, and I basically said, cut it out. Quit foreclosing on homes. Quit engaging in these kinds of speculative behaviors. Now, who's exactly to blame for the housing crisis? I think there's plenty of blame to go around. Home buyers who paid extra fees to avoid documenting their income should have known they were getting in over their heads. Of course, we have to deal with the problem that the banks are still too big to fail. We can never let the American taxpayer and middle-class families ever have to bail out the kind of speculative behavior that we saw. But we also have to worry about some of the other players. AIG, a big insurance company, Lehman Brothers, an investment bank. There's this whole area called shadow banking. That's where the experts tell me the next potential problem could come from. So I'm with both Senator Sanders and Governor O'Malley in putting a lot of attention onto the banks. And the plan that I have put forward would actually empower regulators to break up big banks. I represented New York, and I represented New York on 9/11. When we were attacked, where were we attacked? We were attacked in downtown Manhattan, where Wall Street is.
I did spend a whole lot of time and effort helping them rebuild. That was good for New York, it was good for the economy, and it was a way to rebuke the terrorists who had attacked our country.
9/11 was bad.
I agree with that.
Time and time again, you hear one thing in speeches, and then you see a campaign that has the worst kind of tactics, reminiscent of the same sort of Republican attacks on Democrats. Well, I am here to say that it is not only wrong, but it is undermining core democratic principles. Since when do Democrats attack one another on universal health care?
I've looked at the legislation that Senator Sanders has proposed, and basically he does eliminate the Affordable Care Act, eliminates private insurance, eliminates Medicare, eliminates Medicaid, TRICARE, Children's Health Insurance Program.
Just because Senator Obama chose not to present a universal health care plan does not give him the right to attack me because I did. So let's have a real campaign. Enough with the speeches and the big rallies and then using tactics that are right out of Karl Rove's playbook. This is wrong, and every Democrat should be outraged.
The Democratic Party in the United States worked since Harry Truman to get the Affordable Care Act passed.
So shame on you, Barack Obama. It is time you ran a campaign consistent with your messages in public.
Hillary Clinton's attempt to tout her foreign policy experience hounded her again on the campaign trail today.
I made a mistake in describing it.
She claimed she misspoke last week and was sleep deprived when she described landing under sniper fire in Tuzla, Bosnia, something that didn't happen. But CBS News has found several times in the past few months when Senator Clinton used the Bosnia trip to try to show her international experience. December in Iowa.
We landed in one of those corkscrew landings and ran out because they said there might be sniper fire. I don't remember anybody offering me tea on the tarmac when that was happening.
Then in February.
The welcoming ceremony had to be moved inside because of sniper fire.
And last week.
I remember landing under sniper fire. We basically were told to run to our cars. Now that is what happened.
Differing accounts of your trip to Bosnia, and I'm wondering if you can clarify. I know you recall, ducking under sniper fire, and Sinbad in his account, who's on the trip, he said that the most dangerous part was remembering where he was going to eat next.
He's a comedian, Jeff. He's a comedian.
So you actually recall, hearing gunfire, and were you
when we were flying into Bosnia, we came in a evasive maneuver. There was no greeting ceremony, and we basically were told to run to our cars. Now that is what happened.
After CBS News video showed what really happened when she landed and greeted officials, Senator Clinton maintained there were risks, but explained to the Philadelphia Daily News why she was seen on the Bosnian tarmac greeting a young child if it was really so dangerous.
I was also told that the greeting ceremony had been moved away from the tarmac, but that there was this 8-year-old girl, and I said, well, I can't rush by her. I've got to at least greet her. So I greeted her, I took her stuff, and I left. Now that's my memory of it.
Good to see you.
Once again, her memory doesn't match our videotape. She and her daughter Chelsea lingered on the tarmac to greet U.S. military officials. Took photos. There was the group of 7th graders on the tarmac too. And then Senator Clinton walked to the armored vehicle where she did eventually duck and enter.
It was one of the highlights of President Clinton's first term, passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA. Critics blame NAFTA for the loss of manufacturing jobs in industrial states, including Ohio and Pennsylvania. Hillary Clinton helped get NAFTA approved. She held at least 5 meetings to strategize about how to win congressional approval. She helped the White House block opposition from labor and environmental groups, and she was the featured speaker at a crucial meeting. Participants in that event said, quote, her remarks were totally pro-NAFTA. There was no equivocation for her support for NAFTA at the time.
I have been a critic of NAFTA from the very beginning.
My concerns about NAFTA expressed years ago have been well documented and verified.
I didn't have a public position on it.
I have spoken consistently against NAFTA.
In
if you look at what I have been saying, it has been consistent. I have been consistent. You can go back and look at from the very beginning. I was one of the voices in the administration warning about NAFTA.
You said it was good on balance for New York and America in 2004, and now you're in Ohio, and your words are much different, Senator. The record is very clear.
Well, you don't have all the record, because you can go back and look at what I've said consistently.
Oh, I think that everybody is in favor of free and fair trade, and I think that NAFTA is proving its worth.
I think on balance, NAFTA has been good for New York and America.
Was NAFTA a mistake?
NAFTA was a mistake to the extent that it did not deliver on what we had hoped it would.
Your opponents are saying that that's really part of a larger pattern with you, that you often avoid taking firm positions on controversial issues.
It's about who runs this country, the special interests or the people, and I mean the American people.
Presumptive 2016 GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump is riding high tonight following yesterday's primaries. And with the final votes now being counted, Mr. Trump is smashing the record for the most votes received by a Republican presidential candidate in a primary season with well over 13 million. That number may be higher when it's all said and done. You know, you look at this, your dad has made the point on a number of occasions that a Republican Party that has stated for years that they want to be more inclusive, they want to build out the party, and especially a lot of blue-collar, hard-working Americans that are really suffering under the Obama years have come to your dad, and I don't see every Republican saying, hey, this is great.
You know, I don't get it myself, and I know we've had this conversation both on the air and off in the past, because it doesn't make sense to me. When I look at the hard-working union laborers all over the country, whether it be the guys that have built our buildings, the guys when I walk down the streets of New York that are wearing hard hats with Trump stickers on it, I mean, that's a historical Democratic voting bloc. I mean, they've done it ad nauseum, whether it made sense for them or not. Those guys are all coming up to me, and it's not just in New York City. I mean, this is all over the country. You know, the Teamster guys, the truckers, all these guys coming up and say, hey, I love what your father's doing. So you know what? Those guys, whether the National gets on board or not, is almost irrelevant because I think we got the votes. Yeah. Those are our people. Those are the guys that are going to vote for us. And they're never going to vote for Hillary.
You know, a guy came up to me.
They can't bring themselves about it. You know, it's not that they can't vote for a woman. It's they can't vote for that woman.
Yeah, I think that's well said. A guy I met at Friendly's the other day, he worked on Trump Tower. He's a union guy. Yeah. And he's like, please do everything you can do to help Mr. Trump, please. He was so good to us. Yeah. And I couldn't get rid of the guy. He's telling me story after story after story about all the things your dad did for the union workers and how he stood up for them and how he, when things went wrong, he was the guy that would go and fix it.
And more importantly, I mean, he's got that track record without question, but as a businessman, he didn't just listen to the Harvard and Wharton MBAs. He actually spent time on those job sites. You know, most of these other guys wouldn't know who the developer is on their projects. But, you know, my father spent time, you know, with the sheetrock guys, right? With the guys pouring concrete, with the lathers, with the guys doing, you know, rebar. Everything that he spent time with them. He wanted their opinions. He's listened to those guys for years because that's where he got some of his best information.
I'm really disappointed in people like Paul Ryan, people like Lindsey Graham. I think one of the reasons that your dad won this year, obviously he just broke through. Correct. Obviously, it was
against all odds. Against a big machine.
16 really important governors, former governors, senators. These are not small people within the Republican ranks. But I think more importantly is because Washington has failed so deeply, and he touched on that in his speech last night. And then these guys are fighting against your father, from my perspective, harder than they ever fought Obama.
Well, I think without question. I mean, if they showed the backbone back in the day, you know, over the last 8 years that they have these days, I think you'd probably have different results. And maybe we wouldn't be even having some of these conversations. And frankly, maybe we would have actually gotten something done that wouldn't have forced my father to run, and they could have kept their same old system. But, you know, you really see it on both sides. You know, it's the Bernie effect as well. I mean, people have been disenfranchised by D.C. They're disgusted with what the politicians are doing across the board. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. I mean, my father said it best last night. I mean, she turned the State Department, and the Clintons have turned government into their own private hedge fund. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I don't mean through the foundation. That's a whole different story. This is personal income that they've made by peddling influence, by peddling access. I mean, if we did that in the business world, we'd be arrested for FCPA. I don't know how they get away with it. Now, if you bring up the foundation, that's probably billions. And most of the rating agencies that do charities, they won't even touch it because they're saying it's so screwed up. We can't tell where the money's going. We don't even want to look. That's how bad it is. So, you know, God knows what's happening there. But when those agencies can't even rate them to see how effective and efficient they are and where the money's being spent and is it being spent wisely, they can't even figure it out. That's scary.
How does she play the gender card and then she takes money from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, all these countries that are under Sharia that oppress women?
Every election year, politicians promise change. Obama promised change, and it didn't work out too well. And every year, they fail to deliver. Why would politicians want to change a system that's totally rigged in order to keep them in power? That's what they're doing, folks. Why would politicians want to change a system that's made them and their friends very, very wealthy? I beat a rigged system by winning with overwhelming support, the only way you could have done it. Landslides all over the country, with every demographic on track to win 37 primary caucus victories in a field that began with 17 very talented people. After years of disappointment, there's one thing we all have learned. We can't fix the rigged system by relying on and I mean this so strongly, on the very people who rigged it. And they rigged it, and do not ever think anything differently. We can't solve our problems by counting on the politicians who created our problems. The Clintons have turned the politics of personal enrichment into an art form for themselves. They've made hundreds of millions of dollars selling access, selling favors, selling government contracts, and I mean hundreds of millions of dollars. Secretary Clinton even did all of the work on a totally illegal private private server. Something that how she's getting away with this, folks, nobody understands. Designed to keep her corrupt dealings out of the public record, putting the security of the entire country at risk, and a president in a corrupt system is totally protecting her. Not right. Hillary Clinton turned the State Department into her private hedge fund. The Russians, the Saudis, the Chinese all gave money to Bill and Hillary and got favorable treatment in return. It's a sad day in America when foreign governments with deep pockets have more influence in our own country than our great citizens. I didn't need to do this. It's not easy, believe me. I didn't need to do it. But I felt I had to give back to our wonderful country, which has been so good to me and to my family. To many of our states and seen the suffering in people's eyes. I visited communities in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Indiana, and Ohio, whose manufacturing yards, these jobs have virtually disappeared. An embarrassment to our country, and it's horrible. I've embraced the victims of illegal immigration, moms and dads who have had to bury their own children because of people that shouldn't have been in the country. Remember it, folks, remember it. America is getting taken apart piece by piece, auctioned off and just rapidly auctioned off to the highest bidder. We're broke. We're broke. We owe $19 trillion, going quickly to $21 trillion. Our infrastructure is a disaster. Our schools are failing. Crime is rising. People are scared. The last thing we need is Hillary Clinton in the White House or an extension of the Obama disaster. But we can turn this all around. We're going to do it by putting America first. That commitment is the foundation for change that's been missing, and it's been missing for a long time. It's important to understand what America First means. It means on foreign policy, we will never enter into any conflict unless it makes us safer as a nation. It has to make us safer as a nation. This is the opposite of Hillary's foreign policy, which invaded Libya, destabilized Iraq, unleashed ISIS, and threw Syria into chaos and created the mass migration, which is wreaking havoc all over the world. And while putting Iran on the path to nuclear weapons and making them a dominant power in the Middle East. And they are dominant, and we have made them that way, folks. We have made them that way. Better hope I'm president. On trade, America First means the American worker will have his or her job protected from unfair foreign competition. What's happening there is absolutely a disgrace. We're not going to approve, as somebody just said, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a disaster for our country. Almost as bad as NAFTA, signed by Bill Clinton, which has just stripped our country of our factories and our manufacturing and moved them to other places, in particular Mexico. If it's not a great deal for our country, we will not sign it. It's got to be great for our country, for our community, for everybody in here, because believe me, we are all suffering. On energy policy, America First means opening up America's great potential to bring wealth and prosperity to our own workers, including our wonderful and hard-working miners who have been absolutely, totally mistreated by this administration. On economic policy, America First means having tax and regulatory policies that keep jobs and wealth in the United States, substantially lowering taxes for middle-class Americans and businesses. Likewise, regulation, which is strangling our economy, which would be brought down from its present insane level, we will make it very, very good for our companies, for our small businesses, and for people that want to survive and do well in our country. On immigration policy, America First means protecting the jobs, wages, and security of American workers. whether first or 10th generation, no matter who you are, we're going to protect your job. Because let me tell you, our jobs are being stripped from our country like we're babies. The beauty of America First is that it brings us all together. Every American worker of every background is entitled to the same benefits, protections, and rights and privileges. It's got to be that way. Now, the people in charge say things can't change. I'm here today to tell you that we have to change. We have no choice. We have to change. We're going to put, thank you. We're going to put America back to work. We're going to make our own products. We're going to put America back to work. We're going to rebuild our inner cities, which are absolutely a shame and so sad. We're going to take care of our African American people that have been mistreated for so long. We're going to make you and your family safe, secure, and prosperous. Prosperous again. Together, we will put the American people first again. We will make our cities safe again. We will make our country strong again. Ladies and gentlemen, we will make